Congressman Khanna is a Democrat of California. He's been out in the Midwest recently trying to keep up the momentum for Democrats, and he joins me now. First of all, let me start with how you're feeling, and I know you guys are in recess, so I don't know how much you are in contact with other members of the House, but how you would describe the general mood after the last few weeks.
Chris, the president has had so many wins that even Democrats on the Hill are optimistic. And genetically, Democrats are always anxious and paranoid. But you have text chains members saying, look, I think we have a real shot to keep the House. People are bullish on the Senate. There's a genuine enthusiasm, starting with when we passed the climate bill, the CHIPS bill, the president's student loan forgiveness. I mean, it's a mood. I haven't seen this optimism, frankly, since he was inaugurated.
You know, it strikes me that a few months ago, I remember when the headline was about that BBB was dead, Manchin was pulling out, and it was over, and it was going to be hard to go to voters, right, and say, look, yes, we got out of Afghanistan, although that was obviously brutal, and we passed that big rescue package, and we got the infrastructure bill. But that was all last year. Like it was going to be hard to go to voters and say, here's what this trifecta did. Now that list of, whether you like it or not, right? Some people don't like it. Some people don't like the student loan thing. But there is a list to say, this is what we did. This is what we want to do more of.
And Chris, it's a list about making things in America. Donald Trump's whole campaign was, we've offshored our jobs. We need new factories. There were no new factories, no new industry with Donald Trump. The trade deficit actually increased. President Biden is actually delivering CHIPS Act, $52 billion to get semiconductor manufacturing in the United States. 2 new plants coming in Ohio that the president's going to be there for the groundbreaking. The Inflation Reduction Act is about making solar panels here, making batteries here, making sure we're making things here and not in China. That's resonating not just in California, but in Indiana and Ohio, where I was. And I think that making things in America, new production, is something that this president really can claim credit for, reversing, frankly, offshoring and globalization for the past 40 years.
The other way to look at this, right, is that, gas prices are like the killer metric for any president. Gas prices high, you're in trouble. Gas prices low, you're in much better shape. It does seem to me so significant. The gas prices have come down, and it now seems like inflation is cooling. And I got to imagine that inflation is something that whatever district you're in, whatever politician you are genuinely organically hearing from constituents about.
That's right. When gas was almost $6.50 in my district, it's the first thing people would talk about. And food prices are still high, but the trend lines are in a positive direction. And the president deserves credit for this, with the strategic petroleum reserve that he released, with the fact that we have gone after big oil, and the hearings that we're having, and the climate agenda that we're passing. And by the way, Chris, on your show, you had Ed Markey and me on. You were a big part of that in that show, because you said, look, get climate, compromise. And that was actually the start of progressives saying we are willing to take climate. And $300 billion in climate was a big deal. And that was a lot of work. And the fact that we got that done also shows that this party is capable of governing.
Well, that was, to me, I said this in the show before, from a domestic policy agenda, that it was kind of pass fail. Like, you either get climate when you have this unified governance, or you don't. If you don't, you failed. Just straight up. Like, that's it. You get a shot to do this. I know that you had been there's public reports that you've been in touch with Joe Manchin. I know that there was a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Like, how did that end up happening?
Well, I think it happened because a lot of folks, progressive groups, environmental groups, were saying, we want to get something done. They had the similar view that you were early saying, pass bill, take the deal, make climate the highest priority. A lot of groups saying that. And all I did is convey to Senator Manchin that if you have a significant number on climate, it can't be window dressing, but if it's north of 300 billion, people in the House will say yes, the environmental groups will say yes. And we talked every couple of weeks. And the one thing I knew about Senator Manchin is, while I would have had more sticks, he wasn't for the sticks, but he was for the spending on innovation. And this is going to unleash a lot of private sector investment as well. And it's something we can be very proud of. It's the biggest down payment on climate in American history.
The big news, obviously, this week, it's been really interesting to follow the aftermath of the president's announcement on student loan forgiveness. It's notable to me. I had Tim Ryan on the show last night. We didn't get into this, but he came out against it, said it sent the wrong message. Michael Bennet, who's got probably a competitive Senate seat, he's at least in cycle, came out with a sort of lukewarm statement about it. Cortez Masto, I think, who's also in cycle in Nevada, didn't sound psyched about it. Do you think they're worried about backlash? Do you think that backlash fear of, oh, here, look at the Democrats rewarding the college educated at the expense of the plumbers, which has been the line from Mitch McConnell, which is rich. Do you think that has teeth?
I don't, because a lot of the people who take out student loans are the first in their family, first generation to go to college. A lot of them are from working class families. And look, Chris, I took out $100,000 of student loans. I was fortunate in life. I paid it back. I don't have any resentment that other people who didn't have the same breaks that you or I have and took out those loans get some relief. I mean, since when in this country do we believe that everyone should go through the same exact hardship that you went through? Isn't the whole idea that we want to make the country better, that we want people not to have the same burdens? And no other nation in the world do you have to go into $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 of debt to get a college education, and you didn't have to in this country from 1860 to 1960. So Democrats need to lean in. And you know what? Let's not be anti-intellectual. If people want to get vocational and trade education, I'm all for it. But if they want to go get a college degree or a PhD, celebrate that. Like, don't back out of saying that education is good. Since when have we become the party that's afraid to stand up for education?
I'm glad you made that point, because someone said something the other day snarky about people with philosophy degrees, and I had to, got my back up a little bit about people with philosophy degrees. Some of us are doing all right. Congressman Khanna, thank you very much.
And our founders, Chris, American founders, James Madison, philosophy did have something to do with the American founding.
That's right. Good to see you, Congressman.